Right, so we've been working through Jeremy Guy's 12 rules for how to play the second role in a game of backgammon. And we've had some videos that have been lengthy and some different situations you can find yourself in that are complex. The great news is that the last two rules are very, very easy indeed. Um, Rule number 11 just deals with double fives, and there's only two options that you can go for that each happen about 50% of the time, and that's it. I could do this video in less than a minute, but arising from this position, there's an outcome that is known as the double five blitz, and it's worth a little bit of time in it and can be very helpful in terms of cubing decisions and things like that. So I'm going to just extend this video a little to look at the second row when it comes to double fives, and then what to do next, to do after you've rolled double fives. So what do you do when you roll double fives? Well, it's great. It's really simple. If you can, you're going to hit, and the only area you're going to be able to hit is on your ace point. So you'll play one checker down from 6 to 1 to hit, another checker down from 6 to 1 to cover, and then you're going to try and blitz your opponent in. So you're going to play two checkers off your 8 point onto your 3 point and make another point in your home board. So you'll have 3 points in your home board. Sometimes this can hit twice. So if your opponent has left a blot on your ace point and your 3 point, happy days, you hit them twice. If you can do that, you always do that. If you can't do that, so if your opponent hasn't split their back checkers, the only thing you can do kind of successfully is to bring two down from your 13 point to your 3 point. But the great news is this: there's no exceptions. There's no anomalies or sub rules or substitutions or anything. These rules are absolutely copper fastened. You're going to do kind of approximately 50% of the time you'll be able to hit, and you do. Approximately 50% of the time you won't be able to hit, and you play the two down for the 13 point. And it's very clear and very straightforward. And when you think about it, if you're playing against the clock, there are some decisions that you want to spend a lot of time deliberating over. So you can save yourself time, but just by knowing this, that every single time, if you can hit and blitz, you do. If you can't, you play 13 to 3 twice, and nothing to worry about. Just make the move and move on. So again, I'm not going to spend much time with these. So here's a situation where you've rolled double fives. They haven't left a blot on their 24 point or ace point. So you just move two down from there and two in there, 13 to 3, 2. That's all you can do. On the other hand, here's a situation with they played 6-4 in this manner. It's a pretty reasonable way to play 6-4. We can now hit that blot on their 1 point. Here's 4-4. It doesn't have to be a big split. Here's one where they played 4-1. Again, pretty reasonably way to play 4-1. We can hit them, so we do. So here's how we do. We're going to hit them with the two coming down to the 6-1, and we follow it in every single time. And I said I don't think I'm telling you anything new here, except to say that there's never an exception. You don't have to be worrying, am I missing something here? It's one or the other. Sometimes you can get lucky and you can hit twice. So they played a 5-2 in this way. That point in our 3 point, that blot in our 3 point is left there. So of course we hit it. It's a bonus. We got 2 in the bar now, better by far. So that's easy enough. Slightly trickier is when we do that. I'm calling that a double five blitz, what we've just done there. And then the cube decisions after it are trickier, and I'm still taken by what Alex Ashagian says about, we're going to make mistakes and blunders over the board, but if we get our opening stuff, which comes up regularly right, if we know what to do in the opening things, we can save ourselves equity and reduce our PR in the early stages. So I'm just going to look at the rest of this video, just look at the cubing decisions, and while I'm doing it as we're the blitzer, it's also important to know these if we're the blitzee. If we're the one being blitzed, we need to know whether we take or we pass. So let's start off with we've done the blitz and there's a checker on the bar. So there's the position. Whatever happened, either we hit two checkers and only one came out. More likely we hit only one checker, and there's 9 out of 36 rolls. So 1 in 4 times they're gonna dance and stay in the bar. And don't forget, if we roll a double five, 50% of the time we're going to be able to blitz, and a quarter of those times they're going to dance like that. So if we roll a double five, there's a 1 in 8 chance rolling a double five that we're going to be in this sort of situation. And what do we do? Well, the simple answer is, If they have one checker on the bar and one checker on the 5-point, it is it's borderline just about a double and a take, just about. But if we move that checker back from the 5-point to the 4-point, so they're actually 1 point further back, it actually becomes a no double because we just don't have enough ammunition in the zone. So we're reaching to try to reach that checker. So that's very much a no double if it's on the 4-point. Now, if looking at that situation, if you look at their outer board, they've got four checkers on their 8-point or 17-point, I think it is. They've 4 checkers at the far side of the board on that point. If one of them were to move back, and we now have a chance we might hit them in the outfield, and suddenly that becomes that ups our game a little, and it becomes a double and a take. So if no untidiness in the outfield, and it's on the 5-point, it's by 1 milli point, it's a double. If it's 4-point, it's not a double, but if they have something messing in the outfield, it's a double and a take. And if they were to be on the 2-point, we've even less. They're so secure in that 2-point. It's going to be a bit of a stretch. We could roll a 6-4, but that's only a 1 in 18 chance. They're too well protected in there on the 2-point for us really to have much chance of blitzing. So even with the messy outfield where we might pick up a second checker on the way around, it's still very much a no double. We just don't have the material in our home board or in the zone to be attacking like that, and it's just not worth it. If, on the other hand, they have their one check on the bar, but their final checker has been advanced, it's now on our bar point, well then it's a double and a pass. We now have 2 shots to hit. I can't go back to slides, I'm afraid, here, but if you think about it, we could hit them with a 6, we could hit them with a 1, they'd now have 2 in the bar. So it's a definite double if you've got a second chance of hitting them. There it is there, you can just see that we have a good chance of hitting them. On the other hand, I'm tidying up. I've taken that checker that was on our 9-point and put it back on the 8-point, so they're tidying the outfield now, but it's still a double because with a 1 and 6, we're going to put 2 in the bar, so it's a big double in our favour. Now, what if we hit 2 checkers? And there's two checkers in the bar. What do you think? At all stages in this video, again, you can pause this video. By the way, I don't know if you're on Backgammon Galaxy and they do their Backgammon Galaxy quiz in the medium section? I don't know, the beginner, medium, advanced, or in the second tier of questions. They actually do these great little series of quizzes, and a lot of the positions I've got here have come from those quizzes. So you can test yourself in this as well on Backgammon Galaxy, and well worth doing. So now we've got 2 checkers in the bar. I think you'd say that's a double. Is it a take? No, it's a pass. 2 checkers in the bar. We could make a 3rd point. They're going to be, they're in danger of being gammoned here. So look at that, 40% gammon chances. So for that reason, they're going to pass. And it just reminded me of when you roll an opening 3-2. If you have the first move and you're rolling an opening 2, I always play a 3-2 like this. 3 forward from the back and 2 there. I like that because I think it gives me a better diversity of numbers. My next roll is going to be more useful, I feel, like that. But there's another big reason I hadn't really thought of until tonight when I've been making this video. If we played 3-2 like this, and we just nudge forward, I mean, I've seen it done. Look at that now. That point that we've on our 22 point. That blot on our 22 point. We're now vulnerable. If our opponent runs a 5-5, we're going to have 2 in the bar, and we're facing all sorts of rubbish. So all the more reason, I said, to go back to doing the usual roll of the 3 and the 2. Anyway, going back to this one, here's a situation where we hit 2 checkers, and they both came out from the bar. So we managed to put 2 in the bar. He got lucky, and he rolled a 4 and a 2, and he's out there. What is our cubing decision? And again, I don't think it would come as any great surprise. We're not actually that strong there at all. In fact, if anything, we've buried a couple of very deep checkers there, and it's not great for us, even though we've had a little bit of an advanced start. So absolutely no double in that situation. And we're only winning 53% of the games, so uh, definitely no double if he gets lucky and gets out. And I think that applies, that applies to anything. If we um, attempt a double five blitz with our first opening response, and our opponent isn't on the bar, we're not doubling. There's no real advantage and no point in doing so. Now, what if we have an extra checker in the zone, an extra piece of ammunition? In this case, we'll put a ninth checker on the 8 point. So if you look at it here, we've brought a checker down from 13 to 8. So we have more ammunition in the zone. How does that affect our cubing decisions? It's a double, but it's a take, because from our opponent's point of view, it's still early doors. They could make it, an anchor steady enough, so it's a double and a take. But if we took that ninth checker that was on the 8 point and put it on the 9 point, if we put it in a different point in the zone, I like that expression I've heard someone else use about a diversified builder. We now got a diversified builder there. What about now? Well, now it's a double and a pass. We're just too likely to make, that 5 point. We could hit the checker and make the point too easily. It suddenly raises. It's a huge double and a pass now that we start doing that. And that applies no matter where that checker is, wherever that checker, that diversified builder. So the extra chance of hitting the 5 point is, it's always going to be a double and a pass. And I said, if we're on the receiving end of this, we just need to know that we're passing here, because there's just too much damage. What about the 10th checker? Well, stick it on the 8 point. We've now got 10 checkers in the zone. It's a double and it's a pass. And it's around this time that I started saying to him, well, what do we have to do to be too good to double? Maybe if we diversified that 10th checker and we put it somewhere else, is that too good to double? No, it's a double and a pass. And likewise, we can put that 10th checker anywhere we like. It's always a double and a pass. So we could even put it in on the, we've put it, I tried, well, what if we put it on our 6 point? Is that, 10 checkers? Are we that little bit more point in our home board? Double and a pass. So how can we get it that it's too good to double? Is really where I was going with this. And the answer is, it's rare. I found it difficult with double five positions to find a situation, double five blitz positions to find a position where it's too good to double. This was the only one I could find. Here we have a situation where they have two in the bar. We're probably going to, with our roll, we have a good chance of making, I don't know, I haven't counted them up, but lots of rolls are going to make another point in our home board. They're really going to in danger of getting gammoned here. And with this situation, it's definitely too good to double. We have a 51% gammon chance here. So we just shut up and keep playing until if they get out and make an anchor, well, then we can change our mind to that. But for now, or if I was to think about it from the point of view, you'd grab a chance to pass that position. So it's no double. But if you look at that position, it is there. And if we took a couple of checkers, we just said that our opponent had made their 5 point, suddenly we might have difficulties getting out, extracting our back checkers. It's not as clear, and even that, we've no longer become too good. That in itself is a double and a pass. Just the sheer fact of our opponent having made the 5 point reduces it to a double and pass. Now, let me go back to the first of these blitzing positions, because I've given you everything here in this video, all the different scenarios. As I said, it's worth going to that Backgammon Galaxy quiz just to test your understanding of it. But my worry is that in giving you so much depth, I might have just kind of obscured the simplest of the rules. And the simplest of the rules is this. We've started off, I gave you this position very early on when we were looking at the double five blitz. We've operated a blitz. Our opponent has danced. They've left a checker there on their 5 point, and it's going to be a double, just a bare double and a take. And because we can reach that checker on their 5 point, we can maybe hit coming down from our 8 point, we can get to it. But if we were to move on to a situation where our opponent's blotted another 2 point, it's just too far away from all our checkers on the 13 point for us to reach it. So black is very, very likely to get out and establish something in their home board before we can blitz them properly. And for that reason, it's a no double. If you just took those two positions as your reference positions. One where the blot is on the 5 point and we know it's a bare double, and one where the blot is on the 2 point, we know not to double. If you just took those as your main reference positions, everything else in this video, is extra detail that you can learn in the course of time. Don't get so confused by all the different things I've shown you here that you miss out in those two positions. That's it for double fives. We just have the second row position on double sixes to go. And then actually, I've been using this slide with the picture of Bill Roberti's how to play the opening of backgammon. This is chapter 2 of how to play the opening of backgammon. Once we get the double sixes out of the way, we'll be able to get on to chapter 3 and get right back to this book.